Coming up on the official Celtic FC podcast, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain shares some incredible stories and memories from his fascinating career, and he speaks about how he is settling into life as a Celtic player.
So far, I've loved every minute of it, and I'm really lucky and delighted that the manager gave me the opportunity to come here and join this group.
Hello and welcome to the official Celtic FC podcast. I'm Matthew Campbell and I'm delighted to be joined today by Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Alex, thanks very much for taking some time out your day to come and chat to us.
No problem, thanks for having me.
So we'll chat a wee bit about the games and what's to come over the next couple of months for Celtic, but this is a wonderful opportunity to get a chance to chat to you about your career, which we could probably spend hours sitting here chatting, but we'll try and go through it as best we can. When I was reading about you, Alex, one of the things, looking at your life and your career, one of the things that kind of stood out was the fact that, of course, your father was a professional football player. So, how much of a bearing did his career have on your interest and love for the sport?
Yeah, I think massive. I think that's where it all began for me. It's like any lad, you want to follow your dad's footsteps, and you sort of look at what they do as you're growing up, and you take an interest in that, especially as a boy. So for me, obviously, that was football. So then, started from an early age with him, and he'd take me out a lot, down the park, set up the goals, the plastic goals, put the nets on them, practice quick feet. And the ladders and through the cones, and then I just took a big liking to the game, obviously, and I think he never really pushed me in that aspect of him wanting me to be a footballer or anything. It was just more the fact that he could see I was good and I loved it, so he put in I don't know how many hours taking me out, and from an early age, from 4 or 5, working on these things until I ended up at Southampton Academy at 7, 8ish.
Yeah, well, you mentioned that sort of progression into inclusion in Southampton's academy, but it's interesting you say that, because a few of the boys, even in here in the first team at Celtic, we've spoken to through the podcast this season, talking about those early years, have spoken about how their dads have, and they're grateful for it, but their dads pushed them, but it doesn't sound like your dad just sort of almost just nurtured and encouraged it.
Yeah, I think me and my brother, we're both footballers, but we're both different characters. So I think my dad saw quite early that how much I loved it, that I could be good, and that he could then push me in a bit firmer and in a direction, because I could take it and I would respond well to it. So as much as he never forced me into it, when I was in it, we did it properly. Yeah. And I think he could see from quite early, he would, I can remember being as young as 9, 10, him saying, do you want to be a footballer or not? If the answer is yes, we have to do it like this, and there's no two ways about it. And the answer was always yes for me. So then I just listened. So from that aspect, he would then push me. Yeah. But the minute I sort of backed off, he said, do you not want to do it anymore? And I could have gone either way and been like, no, and he would have been like, okay, no worries. Yeah. But it was never that. So as much as he never forced me into it, because I always said, this is what I want to do, because he'd been a footballer and maybe from the old school, hard work and doing more than others, that gives you the advantage, and working on other, obviously, technical things as well. Because he'd done it, I just took his word for gospel. Anything he said, I would do, because to me, he knows, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
He gets it. He knows. He was the one that played for England. He was professional, so I just listened to everything to a T, as much as I could. And obviously, it's ultimately got me to where I've got to. And I think that early upbringing and him pushing me and not being easy on me sort of prepares you for what comes in football, of setbacks and having to take criticism, all that stuff. Yeah. I was kind of used to that from 8, 9. That was our sort of relationship. It wasn't telling me how good I was. It was deep down, I knew, and my mum would say how well, your dad said how well you did. He wouldn't necessarily always tell me. It was always what I could do better, what I could improve on, and just a little simple well done, and that was enough for me to know I've done good today. was a good day.
And that can be really obviously beneficial, especially somebody, it's your dad, it's somebody you're looking up to. But you're mentioning that sort of grounding that he gives you at a young age, pushing you, when needed and so on. How big a part then do you think those early years played in the fact that you make your debut for Southampton at 16, just over 16 years of age, which is pretty young? Would you say that those early years had prepared you for life as a professional almost, or?
Yeah, I think so. Because to be honest, especially when you're young, I think a lot of coming into a first team environment and everything that comes with that, as much as it's about the football, and if you're good enough, more of it's about your mentality, I think, and how mature you are at that age to be able to cope with everything that comes with it. Having a bad game, but then being able to bounce back, taking criticism from lads that are double your age, seasoned pros, and know how to deal with that, respect it ultimately, respect people around you, and people that have been in it and know more than you, how to listen and respect that, to then learn from them, get them on side, and then all of a sudden the older boys will then start helping you more. And that's how I was brought up, ultimate respect for my dad, and he's done it, he knows it, and I still do that to this day, even now. Anyone that's been in an environment longer than me, that knows it better than me, I'll always listen and try and respect what they're saying and learn. Even now coming here, there's certain lads and the coaching staff, the manager, that get it more than me, because I've only just come and I want to learn off them people. The captain, Cal, boys that have been here for a long time, James, like listening to them boys, I still sort of take that approach even at 32 now, to try and always, understand my environment, get on with the people, because ultimately you need people to help you and you want to help them, and that's how you sort of progress. So I think having that sort of upbringing from a young age prepared me going into Southampton, into a dressing room, and obviously as well the lads were really good with me, they really helped me. But I think that balance for young players can be hard, where you've got to be confident and show how good you are and want to stand up and prove, you've got a bit of that, I wouldn't say arrogance, but you want to hold yourself in the right way. But also then on the flip side, you sort of come off the pitch and you really, I was making cups of tea every game, cleaning boots. I'm 30 games into League One, but I'm still cleaning boots every day. Like that was just the way I was brought up, and to stay grounded, stay humble, and quite quickly people around you respect that as well, and they help you more. And we all need that help, bit of luck as well to push on. So I think that my dad's upbringing still moulds me now and how I am, and just that humility, that's how he is as a person. And I think that's what I just took from that. It's
interesting, especially in the modern game, to hear somebody speaking like that, and in terms of how they conduct themselves as a young player, even in a first team environment. When you look back on those early days at Southampton, the early days of your professional career, how important were those years in terms of shaping you then for what's come since?
Yeah, massive. So I never had like a completely smooth journey through the academy. Sort of from 7 to 12, I was probably at the top of the trio, one of the better players. Then from 12 to 16, I was the last one to grow, last late developer. I'm an August baby, so I was the youngest in the year. So as everyone sort of started maturing and shooting up, I then fell right to the bottom of the pile and struggled for those years. And then I was probably the last one to get my scholar, and nearly got released at sort of 15, and then finally grew, and quite quickly I flipped into being in the first team, and never sort of looked back from that point. But I think dealing with all of them moments, I think my dad was good for that also, just to have that sort of person that even when some coaches were saying I couldn't affect things, I'm maybe not good enough, like my dad would always say, oh, you'll see, when you grow you'll see, just wait, and that sort of kept me going. And then being able to get into the first team when I did finally mature a bit and fill out a bit and start growing a few whispers on my face, I I quite quickly, everything my dad's sort of said sort of started happening a bit more again. I started to gain my confidence back and becoming able to affect games physically and stuff. And then going into the first team, them boys they prepared me, you know, they weren't easy on me. They tested me every day, you know, as a character, dealing with banter, dealing with, you know, all your old school typical stuff, you know, cutting my clothes up, nicking my boot, like everything you could imagine I did. So by the time I came to Arsenal, that environment was a lot easier than, you know, probably a bit more of the old school English sort of dressing room and lads, you know, being quite heavy on banter and testing the younger boys. So when I came into that environment, it was more just a case of, oh my God, that's Robin van Persie and that's, you know, this player and that player. But in terms of the actual day-to-day, I was more than prepared already from everything that the lads at Southampton had done for me, and the first team boys there had prepared me for that, and sort of taken me that you can take that then into every dressing room.
I'm sure you probably felt like a seasoned pro dealing with those sort of things at that point.
Yeah, a little bit. Honestly, it's I think when you play in, obviously we were League One at the time, and things were a bit different. And you come to Arsenal where every move is sort of recorded, and you step out, and everyone you got to be maybe a little bit more careful with everything and the banter and all of that sort of stuff. But I'd sort of come through it at that level where lads can maybe get away with a bit more. You get tested. There's, you know, not as much HR kicking about and whatnot. And it's the old school sort of upbringing and the typical football changing room, you know, and that sort of prepares you then for, you come into the bigger leagues, and it was a bit of a walk in the park from that side of things. Sure. It's then more just about, right, I need to improve to keep up with how good these lads are now.
Well, you've segued perfectly into it then, Alex, so let's talk about that, the move to Arsenal. Because again, you know, you're obviously you're really young at this point in the early part of your career. What did that move mean to you in terms of, because it's Arsenal, it's huge, and of course you're working with, like you say, some incredible names there.
Yeah. Obviously, it was really exciting to start off with, and a bit surreal. So I think that was the first, you know, few weeks were just sort of understanding how you've got here, and from, I reckon, within a year or 18 months, I'd gone from getting released at a League One Southampton to playing for Arsenal in England. It was like a quick transition, but I feel like I always respond best in those situations when I kind of just get chucked in the deep end and just figure it out. And again, you start leaning on people, looking at people, learning from them as quick as you can, people that know more than you, to find your feet. And I've always had somewhat, you know, deep down a belief in my ability and what I can do, and the want to sort of show people what I can do. And that's obviously big when you get into those intimidating environments with players that you've looked up to for years. You can either sort of sink or swim, I guess, at that point. But for me, quietly on the pitch, that's when I sort of would come alive and want to show lads that I don't care who it is, I'm going to try to take you on. And that's maybe the thing that, especially at a young age, gets noticed a bit more, and you probably get a bit more credit than you deserve, maybe just because you're so young, trying to do things, and, you know, on a bigger stage, maybe trying to impress and trying to make things happen. And that's the kind of the way I played and always wanted to sort of show. But then on the flip side, coming off the pitch and speaking to lads, and, you know, people like Mikel Arteta, Per Mertesacker, like letting these guys tell me what I'm doing wrong, and listening, and really listening and trying to learn from them. And it's the same process again, you know. Then these guys start, you know, maybe respecting the fact that you actually want to learn and want to listen, and then you want to help. They want to help you more. And the older I've got, you know, you turn into the other role, and I get it now. You know, when a young player comes and asks you for advice or help or what you could do better, you think you respect that a lot, and think, oh, you know, fair play.
I was going to say that. Do you like that when a younger player then comes to you? Yeah,
definitely. Because I think it just shows a lot of character and balls, to be honest, for them to, you know, come to you and be like, ask you what they could be doing better and what they need to improve on, or what did I do good, what should I continue to do. It shows a level of character, and it just makes you want to help them, because they want it, and they're coming to you and appreciating your opinion and your experience or whatever. And then that's our job. The older people did that for me, so then when I'm at the other side of it a little bit more now, even though I still feel like a youngster. I have to realise I'm not as much now. You have to help them as well.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you. We're talking about this. These years at Arsenal. One of the great Premier League managers in Arsene Wenger. What was your relationship like with him?
Really good. Really good. I still to this day got huge respect, and I think every player that played for him would feel the same way, because he's just such a good man, and a person, and cares for the players. And I think that maybe that's the thing that nowadays is you don't see as much, because managers maybe aren't always in the same place or job for as long as like an Arsene Wenger was, and because he had that sort of foundation, he could work with players for a number of years and care for them and really try and develop them. So I was lucky to have the chance to work with him for so long, and he was just amazing at that, developing young boys and speaking to you off the pitch about life as well, just in general. Just some of his philosophies and how he would talk about life away from football and relate that back to football. You can learn a lot and become a better person from someone like that. So I think everyone has huge respect for him from that side of things. And then also it comes to the football and what he's achieved and how he saw the game and how he could spot potential in certain guys that even as players sometimes you didn't see it when guys were coming up, and he would see it before everyone, and then it would come to fruition, and you think, wow, this guy's a genius, what he can see. He's amazing to work with from a footballing point of view as well. So I was very lucky to work with him so long.
And of course, when you were at Arsenal, you won a number of trophies. I wanted to ask you about, because obviously we can't go through absolutely everything, every game and every moment, but I wanted to ask you about the FA Cup final in 2015. Arsenal had won the Cup the year before, but I think you missed the final through injury. 2015, Arsenal 4-0 against Aston Villa. And you featured in the final. What was that like as a young Englishman to be at Wembley in an FA Cup final?
The year before, I actually just got left out the squad.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So I've touched. I
just got left out the squad, so that was one of the times I wasn't happy with Arsene. But the year before I'd played him pretty much all the rounds, and it got to the final, and that was my second final at Wembley. The first one was with Southampton in the Johnston Paint Trophy. And Alan Pardew left me out the squad. I think it was Alan Pardew. Yeah, it would have been Alan Pardew. And his reason at the time was that I'm leaving you out because you'll be back here again. Obviously, at the time,
it's hard to hear that.
I couldn't hear that, but I mean, it turned out that he was obviously correct. So he'd sort of left me out as a 16-year-old then for that. I was gutted. So then this was my second one, really, and I'd got left out and I remember I'd came back from a little niggle that I was out for a week, and I'd trained, but then there was and the manager I think had sort of said I was fit, but he sort of decided to put someone else in. I think it was maybe Yaya Sanogo. So I was gutted for that, but it was amazing to win it, and the boys did well. I think it was Hull, wasn't it? We came back and won, and because I'd played in all the other rounds, you still do feel a part of it. But then, the second one, that meant a lot to me coming on, and I think I might have set up one of the last goals or something for Giroud. So that was the first final I'd played in and really felt like, okay, I've really been involved up until the end. So that one was really nice, and it was a nicer final than the year before, because it was, for a longer period of time, it kind of looked like, okay, we can chill out now, we've won it. But that was amazing.
And we're chatting about you, like we're saying, you won a number of FA Cups. 2017 was a record 13th FA Cup for Arsenal. They're obviously the record winners of that trophy down in England. But all throughout that time, having a look at the sort of league finishes for Arsenal, you're up, top end of the table. I think you finished second the year that Leicester won the title as well. How big does that sort of hang over Arsenal a little bit during your time there in terms of the feeling of we need to try and win the title because it's been X amount of years since they've done it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can't speak for the boys now because it's a different situation. But yeah, when I was there, I don't think it hangs over you. I think what we maybe struggled with a bit more at that time was the Invincibles, and a lot of the talk was always about the Invincibles, and you're always aspiring to be that team, and that was obviously really hard to do because they were incredible. Yeah. So that's maybe the murmurs in the background that you're always trying to aspire to be like them, but the reality was, we were a different team and we needed to do it our own way. And there was a few times where I think we could have got close. I think the year that Leicester won it, I don't want to take away from what they achieved because it was amazing what they did and they were unbelievable. But that was probably one of the years where at one point I think we were maybe at the turn at the top of the table, and the other big teams as such weren't having the best of years, so that was probably our best chance, and maybe we didn't get we obviously didn't get the job done, and we look back as a group and that probably hurt us a lot because we probably felt we should have been able to. But yeah, I don't know, it is obviously difficult, it's just hard. Yeah. Winning trophies is generally hard, and you can't really put a sort of, a saying on why, or because everyone's just improving. You need a bit of luck in there as well through the season, and just getting over that hurdle the first time as a team is massive. Yeah. How you get there is I feel the hardest bit, and then once you almost cross that bridge, you sort of, without realising, you're just ready for those situations way more. And yeah, we obviously at the time at that Arsenal team that I was a part of, we weren't able to get over to the top of Everest, as they say, and I think when teams do manage to do that, it then just becomes a lot easier to do it again and again until your legs fall off and you get replaced and the next bunch come in.
For sure.
So yeah,
we as we're talking about this, I mean, not to put you on the spot here or to ask you an impossible question, some of those players you played alongside at Arsenal, unbelievable names, unbelievable players, and as we'll soon talk about in a minute, it's the same at Liverpool as well. But if you could pick a five-a-side team from the Arsenal players that you played alongside, who would feature?
Oh, that is a real hard one. Five-a-side team?
Yeah.
I'd have to put Petr Cech in goal, just because of what he's done in his career, his experience and everything. I think Wojciech Szczesny was superb as well, and obviously since Arsenal has gone on, I had a great career as well, but I'll have to put Petr in there. I have to put Santi Cazorla in there. Mesut, Ozil, Alexis, and then I'm going to have to put a defender in, aren't I, really? I'd want to put Wilsh in there as well. Yeah. I'm just telling him he's going to have to play at the back.
Yeah, so he's second at the back.
I think so, yeah.
It's an unbelievable team, to be fair.
Yeah, so I've missed so many out there.
That's what I'm saying, it's an impossible
question. You stuck me. You put me on the spot there, man.
I know. I'll give you a heads up next time. We'll do a seven-a-side team.
I'll write it out before I come here. It's tough. It's an impossible question to answer. I played with so many good players. Robin Van Persie, he's not made the team there. It's a bit harsh. So many good players that... Yeah, you've killed me now, haven't you?
I know, I'm sorry about that. I know. Should I give you a heads up on that?
I'm happy with my team. It's a good bunch. That.
I'd say so as well. Yeah. Before we move on from Arsenal, of course, it's well documented. You were down there doing a bit of training, not so long ago, just very recently. From your point of view, can they do it this season? Can they go and win the title? Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I've seen some squads in my time, but that squad that they've got there now is like, just the depth of it and how good everyone is it's incredible. Seriously good squad. yeah, they're going through what I just spoke about. Obviously, trying to just get over the line that first time is just generally difficult for anyone to do. Even when you have done it, it's still difficult to repeat. It becomes a different challenge, but they're obviously going through that process now and they have been building. They've been building for a good few years towards this. So I think they've got themselves in the best position they can be at this point in the season. Just being at the top is where you want to be, and then obviously I think only time will tell how they finish off. But I think that they've got the whole club, the infrastructure, the coaching staff, the manager, the players, the characters in that group. Obviously I was lucky enough to train with them, be a part of them to some extent. They're a great bunch of lads, got hunger, desire, so I think they have got everything from my point of view. But getting it done, that's only they can sort of control that, and that's to be seen. But they've got everything that they need for sure.
It'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Now listen, I really appreciate you, like I say, taking time to chat to us. Like I say, the career's fascinating, and you've played alongside wonderful names and with wonderful clubs. So let's forward it on towards the Liverpool years. Now you go there in 2017. I mean, like you say, another huge club. It's obviously Celtic Park is renowned as being this very special arena, wonderful place, great history. Anfield's exactly in that same category. What was Anfield like to play at as a Liverpool player?
Yes, incredible. And like you said, I think it would be somewhat similar to the Celtic Park feeling. It's got the history in the stadium that you can feel. Not necessarily one of these brand new modern stadiums. You've got that intimidating factor of where fans really feel on top of you as the away team. The noise, just everything about it is special, and especially on like a European night or in the big games, it is. I've been on both sides, right? I've been an Arsenal player going to Anfield and how difficult that was, and how intimidating that could be. And then obviously as a home player playing for Liverpool, what buzz that could give you, and added advantage that when the crowd gets going, that it just fuels the fire, and you almost feel invincible as a team when you can help create that atmosphere and they start shouting as they do. It's incredible. Is it the kind of club, I've always wondered this with Liverpool, because it's obviously so heavily supported, it's got an unbelievable history all through the years as well. Is it the kind of club that kind of just gets under your skin as a player, that you just always sort of feel a part of it even when you're away from it? Yeah, no, absolutely. It's the people there as well, right? The people play a big role in the whole feel of the club, and the Scousers and people from Liverpool that live and breathe it. And there's a few simple rules and things that they want you to do and show your effort, and when you do that, the way that they can take you in and support you through good times, bad times, it's incredible. And they live and breathe it, and they welcome you in like a big family, and one of their own, and they make the players feel, I've seen like, Simicast, Greek Scouser they'll call him. They bring people in that from the outside and make you feel like you're one of their own. And yeah, it is just that special place. And I think once you've played there, and obviously I was lucky enough to achieve, some really good stuff there, and that whole atmosphere and what it meant to everyone, and that's like, you can't really replace that at a club like that, and how special that feels. So yeah, it is a place that gets under your skin, and I loved every single minute playing for that club, and the fans and everything about it, the people. That's one of the best things about that for me, is just how the people make you feel and how you want to do well for them. Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about the winning then with Liverpool, because like you say, obviously it's a club that the people are so into, so involved in. So to win for them, just like I would imagine what it feels like to win for Celtic as well. It's just this collective energy. Talk to me about winning the Premier League title then with Liverpool, because I know that for them that was another big thing for Liverpool. It had been 30 years, hadn't it, since they'd lifted it? Yeah. yeah, obviously amazing achievement after so long. And you know, I look back and think of all the Liverpool teams that I watched with Steven Gerrard driving them on, and Torres and Suarez and all these great players, and even before that, and not for them not to have won something, like it's surprising for how good the club is, how many good players they had. Like I said, it's just difficult and it's hard to win these titles. And I think for us, the first couple of years, as well as we were doing, City were just doing a bit better. And on other years, you know, 97 points, 98 points would have won you the league twice over, and then some. The same year, City get 99 or 100, whatever it was, and it's like. So then when we finally did cross the line and get it done, it was massive for us as a group, and then you could just feel it for the whole club, like, and the city, what it meant. And you know, those fans are like, they never sort of waver over all these years with their support. And there has probably been times where it's been difficult for them and they've not quite achieved what they want to achieve. So we were lucky enough to be the lucky ones to bring that to them and feel that energy and experience it really. And yeah, it was incredible. But I think there was a lot more to it as well, because I think every one of us in that team respected so much what had come before. And the great players, the Steven Gerrards, I think that's for us what made it more special. We all knew how lucky we were to have been able to actually, you know, provide that for this city, and even for those guys before, you know, that even those guys would still come and supporting and showing how much they wanted it for us as well, which is, if you know, you can imagine if a player hasn't achieved something that they felt they could have or maybe deserved, to see them then still come and really show you that support as a newer group of players, it means a lot. So you're half doing it for them also as much as you are the fans and yourselves. So it's that kind of special club that creates that.
Yeah, absolutely. The way you describe it, you know, it certainly comes across that way. Champions League winner as well with Liverpool. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, that's massive. That one is a bit like, that was surreal as well, because Champions League, you bring in Real Madrid, the Barcelonas, the big other foreign clubs that you don't get to play every week, or every couple of weeks like you do in the Premier League. It's a different feel to it, and when it becomes the knockout situation, there's a lot riding on it, and it's difficult again. So yeah, I think we'd obviously knocked on the door a few times. In the first year, we obviously got to the final and lost to Real Madrid, and then to finally get it done was incredible, and that was special, I think, for all of us, because I think we just missed out just on the league that same year. Maybe I get sort of a bit muddled up with my dates and years, but yeah, I mean, what an achievement. And we just had that kind of a team and a belief and a drive that kind of almost just felt like we could achieve anything, even when maybe we weren't necessarily the best team at the time in terms of, you know, how we played. And we played great football, but you know, you look at some of the other teams, the names, the stars, the style of play, maybe that wasn't necessarily always us, but we always stepped on the pitch and felt we could beat anyone. And at that time we were. So I think that's a big credit to the group of players, the manager, the fans, the whole club, the whole energy that we'd created over the few years. But when we got into those situations, even though it's a big final, I don't know what it was, we felt we were always going to win. And the few that we lost, we always felt close. You know, I think the Real Madrid one, that was a bit difficult. A couple of worldy goals from Gareth Bale. And then the one we lost again to Real Madrid, that whole game we lost 1-0. I felt like, even to this day, I feel like we should have won that game as well. We had a lot. Courtois had a great game. We couldn't get the ball past him.
That must be difficult as a player though, when you've won plenty in your career, but obviously to win the Champions League, that's the big one. Everybody's talking about European Cups. It must be difficult as a player though to look back. Like, does it get easier with time? You know, the moments that you haven't won, does it get easier to deal with, or does it still kind of?
I just think it's all part of the game. You know, in life we win we lose at all sorts of things. It's just I always look at it and think, bring it back to at one point, I didn't know if I was going to be able to get a scholarship at Southampton. Yeah. So to have achieved what I've achieved, it's beyond my wildest dreams, you know, and sometimes you've got to remember that. You're lucky to even be in that situation, to have the opportunity to play and to play in a great team with a great manager at a great club. Like that doesn't come lightly to start off with. I think it's easy to start getting carried away with, I want to do this now and I want that and then I want that. I think that's important and that's why we'll do what we do, but losing is all part of it as well. So yeah, it's difficult and it hurts, those little moments, but I think because we have won also, you've got to be grateful for that, and you know, take what you can as well sometimes.
Sure. You mentioned the manager at Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp. He just seems like a totally unique kind of individual and character. What was he like to work with?
Really, really good. I think in this, I don't want to call it this modern game, but I think now it's getting more tactical and more detailed. And I think as much as, yes, we had our tactics and we had a few just simple, clear rules as well, that were just easy to understand, easy to buy into, and everyone does them at 110% and will have success just from that. And that's the sort of culture he sort of built and he builds a lot of his teams around. Good group of guys as well, so I think he's quite careful with the characters that he brings in, and everyone wants to fight for the guy next to them. And we run, we work hard, the press, this is how we do it. We all do it. If one of you doesn't do it, it's all a waste of time. So everyone buys into that. And yes, I think that's quite refreshing to have that sort of approach in this modern era of, you know, tactics and who goes where at times. I think that for us worked for us as our group of players. We all understood that, and physically we could deal with those demands. And you know, and we had great players as well. That, you know, your Mo's, Virgil's at the back, Hendo in midfield, Sadio, Bobby, like great players that would win us games also. But as a culture, there was no egos in the dressing room, and we'd all just work for each other. And the manager's amazing at every game, motivating you like it is a final. And that's how we kind of stepped onto the pitch more times than not, and got a lot of our success just from running, believing, and, you know, never say die sort of attitude. That's what got us a lot of success.
You mentioned a couple of names there. I wanted to ask you about Mo Salah. I mean, one of the finest strikers that English football's ever seen. What's he like day to day, to you know, in training and stuff like that?
I don't know Cristiano Ronaldo, but I think he's got a bit of that Ronaldo about him, where you see the videos of him working constantly, Ronaldo, and doing all this extra stuff. That's Mo is that also. So it's no coincidence or surprise to players that have played with him to see the success he's had and the consistency he's had, because of how he lives his life, and everything he does is to improve, to be the best he can, to, you know, he works on every aspect, his mentality, how he deals with missing penalties and not letting it affect him, or how he deals with being out of a game for, you know, long periods of time, but still being there to pop up with the winner with his second touch of the half or whatever it is. He works on everything, his fitness, he's in the gym, his recovery. So that's what for me is most impressive about Mo, is his work rate, and he doesn't leave a stone unturned, and ultimately I think that's what's given him the success he's had and the consistency he's had, and into, you know, I don't know what he is now, 33 maybe, into these years he's still fit, stays fit and healthy, and, you know, yeah, always scores goals. So yeah, he's an incredible player, but I think when you've played with him, you appreciate nothing he's got through luck or just pure sheer talent. It's that, along with a lot of work in every aspect of an athlete's life. That's how he lives his life.
I know you've spoken quite a fair bit since there's been a fair bit spoken since you've come up about Andy Robertson obviously trying to sway your decision to come here. He seems like a guy that you got on famously with. I mean, I take it you were well aware of his Celtic leanings for the years, aye?
Yeah, no, we were very close with Robbo and his family, his mum and dad. We were next door neighbours for years and years, so I knew all about Celtic and Glasgow, to be honest, from them for years. Robbo makes it no secret what he thinks about this club. And yeah, so when I was linked, he was the first one calling me, said, get yourself up there now. But no, I'm obviously really close with Robbo and his missus and the kids, and my missus is really close with them also, so we get on really well with them. So having him as a reference point was perfect for me, and he's told me where I need to live, where I need to go, where the rest, he's told me everything, he's a proper Glasgow boy, and I just said to him, it's a shame you're not here with me. Maybe came a bit early, you might join me soon. He's a bit younger than me, Robbo. But yeah, I'm sure. I'd hope to see him here one day. I think he'd be amazing here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. Listen, we're nearing the end of our chat, but I want to ask you about about your international career as well, because something you said earlier, we're talking about your dad's influence at that early part of your career and all through your life as well, obviously. But you mentioned, he's the one. You said he's the one that played for England. Of course, now you're there. Was it 35 caps? I think was what I was reading. Before we even talk about the international career, there must be a real sense of pride, obviously around your family at what you've achieved, but from your dad as well, having been a football player and having been involved in your career the way he has been, he must be ecstatic with the way that your career spanned out.
Yeah, I think so. He's quite mellow, my dad, so he doesn't shout it around into the rooftops, but for sure he'll be really proud of it. And also my brother, he probably spends more time watching my brother than he does me these days. So I'd be proud of him as well, and how his journey's gone in his career, and how he handles himself and looks after himself and strives to be the best he can as well. So I just think for him to see both of his sons sort of follow in his footsteps and take it seriously and dedicate to something, and obviously then the success that has come, I'm sure he is very proud, but that's how he lives. He keeps it quite calm and modest and humble, and doesn't think of himself as anything special. I think that's how I look at myself. I'm lucky to have had what I've had and not take yourself too seriously like you're anything special, and we're here for a spell and then we're not. And that's kind of how we are as a family. Quite downplay a lot of stuff and understand you've got to work hard, get the most out of it you can, and then at the end maybe you can have a sit down and look back and think, I'm proud of everything I've done, but not get too carried away either. Sure. So that's how he is, and that's how me and my brother's even more. My brother's that laid back, he's in reverse half the time, the fella. But yeah, that's how we are as a family. But I'm sure he's very proud, and yeah, he'll be happy deep down.
Yeah. Well, the England career that you've had, is there a different sense of personal feeling and personal pride from achieving things at a club to pulling on your national team's jersey and representing your country?
Yeah, I think representing your country, that's kind of the highest sort of honour you can have as a player. But it is a different feeling. You go there for shorter spells of time to qualify for tournaments, and then in tournaments to do something special. So it's a different feeling as opposed to your club where you're at every day battling and working, and sometimes focusing on your club and doing well for your club is what gets you to that point with your country anyway. So there are two different things, but of course, it's an unbelievable honour, and I think there's just a different sense of you competing against more lads for fewer spots. So yeah, you're you're very lucky to get into that position. You have to earn it and work hard. So, you know, you say if you get it, you deserve it, you've done well to some extent. But I think a lot of an England career or any international career comes with timing, bit of luck, injuries at the right time, wrong time. And I think I had different sides of that when I had ACL before the World Cup and missed the World Cup. These like things, they're the ones that maybe hurt you a bit more than when it can happen in a club career, because you miss, you know, moments that only come around once every 4 years, you know, a World Cup. So you do feel a bit more lucky if you get to that point and you get the chance to play in that, and there is a sense of pride. You don't know when the next time that could happen. Obviously at a club, you've got a contract and you kind of know, okay, I'm maybe going to be here for this long. It's different with your country, but it's the greatest, highest honour I think for any athlete to represent the country, and I was lucky enough to do that for as many years as I did. And yeah, they want to call me back up. I'm still kicking about.
Absolutely. Have you got a standout moment
for England?
In an England shirt?
I can't say scoring against Scotland at Celtic Park, can I?
Go for it.
I can't do that. No, I think scoring away at the Maracanã against Brazil for England. I think because there's a bit of history about that when my dad played in that game where John Barnes went on the run and England beat Brazil at the Maracanã. So though I remember leading, like in that week leading up, there was a lot of press around it, like we were the first father-son to both play for England against Brazil there or something like that. I don't know how many years on from him, it would have been maybe 30 odd years later. So there was a lot of build up, and then I ended up coming on and scoring a decent goal there. So that was probably a special moment in an England shirt for me. Yeah,
brilliant. And like you say, of course, you've scored at Celtic Park. I think
it's one of my only headers as well in my career.
It's a cracking header, to be fair. The glancing header in the corner.
It was. I think maybe I ran off Robbo.
Yeah, that's right.
Shocking defending from him. I ran off him.
I'm assuming that it was through the time with England that you sort of became friendly with Joe Hart. Yeah. He absolutely loved his time here as well. Yeah. I'm sure he spoke very highly of it to you.
Yeah, no, he did. Obviously, played with Harty at England for a good 8 years or so. What a great guy he is, character, player, and person. And then, played against him a lot as well in the league. To see what he's achieved and the career he had for both club and country, and then him coming up here and how highly he spoke of everything up here, how much he loved it. He gave me that impression of what we were speaking about, the Liverpool connection with the fans and Celtic Park and what it means, and he sort of was talking about that. And by the way, when he was talking to me, I've said it in a few interviews already, he was just telling me I wasn't on the cards for me to come. It was 4 weeks before when I was with him at James Milner's birthday party actually. He was just telling me about it, and then when it popped up 3-4 weeks later, that was fresh on my mind, and I didn't really even have to go back to him for his opinion, because he'd already given me his opinion in just general chat when I asked him, how did you find it up there, blah blah blah. But yeah, he absolutely loved it, and couldn't speak highly enough of it here.
Brilliant. Well, let's just round up then, talking a bit about Celtic. One thing I wanted to ask you, we were actually talking about this before we started this interview today. When you're coming from English football, coming up to Scotland, there's potentially, and I don't mean from your point of view, just potentially across the board, a sort of preconceived notion that Celtic win the league, they win it at a canter, and it's a stroll for them every season. But obviously in the couple of weeks that you've been up here already, you probably have seen that it's a little bit different in reality, because how difficult it can be for Celtic at times. Has your sort of thoughts on it, or sort of opinion on what it's like up here sort of changed even in the short time you've been here?
I think so. I think me going to Turkey and at a club like Besiktas, I think the dynamic's quite similar, where there's maybe 3 teams that are all expect to try and win the league, and they all battle between themselves, Fenerbahce, Galatasaray and Besiktas. to try and battle it out to win the league, and then the other games everyone assumes you should just be a walk in the park. But I had 2 years of realising that's not it doesn't go like that. Yes, on paper maybe we should win those games, but in reality it's hard. There's still good players, there's still travel, flight, away grounds, different environments, and then you have a massive game and derby against Galatasaray, 65,000, and the whole city's going crazy. And then the next week you go to a small stadium that's just as important to win, but it's a completely different environment, and you haven't necessarily got like a derby situation that just automatically pumps you up for the game. You've got to generate that yourself as a team, and it's just as important to win that one as it is, maybe say the derbies are the biggest things to win, of course, but 3 points, and so having that understanding for the last couple of years, I've come here and I kind of already expected that's what it's like. Sometimes it's harder to when people expect you to win, and only winning is only acceptable. That sets you up for a different challenge, and so I think my experience there is sort of given me a little look into maybe what it can be like for a club like Celtic up here. But yeah, the 2 games I've played, you go to Kilmarnock and you're on a 3G pitch that you're not used to playing on. That suits them maybe more because they're used to training and playing on it a lot more. That's a different challenge. And I don't know, maybe the way the game went the first half, we struggled to find our feet a bit, and then as we settled into the game a bit more, we started being able to play the football we wanted to play. But all these little challenges make it difficult, and these teams do have good players and they can be a threat, and you've got to be at the top of your game to win these games. And then when it comes to the big games, derby games, they're obviously massive as well. So I wouldn't say maybe used to think that a bit more when I played at home. You always see Celtic being successful, but I don't think that's by any fluke. That's a culture that you have to build in. It doesn't just happen. Teams aren't just going to let you win. You still have to go out there for 38 games and do the business. So I don't think I'm ignorant to thinking it's just a breeze. Like, there is a part of it where the fans play a massive part, the whole size of the club, the players that they can get through the door, that all has an impact to keep a club like Celtic at the top for so long. So yeah, but to see it is, I'd say, to come and feel it and see how impressive it is, the fans, how big the club is, that's been special for me. And maybe in England we don't get to see that as often because we don't get to come and play Celtic away. We don't get to experience that atmosphere. So seeing that, you realise, wow, this is massive. Yeah,
absolutely. At the start, you were talking about those early days of your career, Southampton, the dressing room, that kind of being a bit old school, bit of a throwback potentially to what football was like, would have been like across the board years ago. The man in charge right here just now, Martin, he's cut from that kind of old school cloth, and he's a very honest individual as well. We've spoken so positively about you being here. How are you getting on with Martin and enjoying working with him?
Really well. Again, like for me, it's like it's a breath of fresh air, and it's kind of what I grew up understanding. People like that just tell you how it is. It can be black and white. Yeah. If you're good, he'll let you know. If you're not, he'll let you know. And I can, I can get on board with that. Clear messages, clear expectations, and sometimes you just want to get to, we're going out here, we're going to compete, we're going to run more than them, we're going to fight more than them, and then lads, we should win the game. That I can understand that and resonate with that a lot, and sometimes it's as simple as that. But I'd say he's got really good coaches with him as well, that maybe look into the game in a more modern way and maybe a cut from the new cloth kind of way, and I think he has a good relationship with them to keep that element that he's really good at, and just having that sort of man management with the lads and telling us how it is when it needs to be told. And the coaches also give us really good detailed info and detail, stuff. So as a collective, I think the whole group, to be fair, it's just a really good group of people, and obviously a lot of experience in there as well. Even Sean, he's played at the level he's played for years, and his coaching career, managerial career. So I just think across the board, all the guys in the coaching staff, they're all really experienced, all understand the game, and seem like all really good lads. And been really welcoming to me, and I know all the boys seem to get on really well with everyone. So, and the dressing room's a really good group of lads as well. So yeah, so far I've loved every minute of it, and I'm really lucky and delighted that the manager gave me the opportunity to come here and join this group.
That's excellent, and obviously you've started really well. Obviously at Celtic, I mean, it literally couldn't have been a better start. Obviously the goal, the late winner, but how much are you relishing the prospect of the next couple of months? Because obviously we know it's going to be intense. But
no, I can't wait now. I think we put ourselves back in a good position to be right in there, in the dogfight, and that's what sort of gets me going as a player. And those pressure situations, I think it makes it more special when you can come through the other side of them as a team. So I can't wait for what's to come now, and to go on this journey from now to the end of the season and see where we can get to. But yeah, just roll your sleeves up time and get to work, and no messing, and just get the job done. It's as simple as that. That's the way I look at it every day, and that's what we all need to try and do. And like I said earlier, when we were chatting, it's not easy, it's not a given, but it's a great opportunity and challenge for us to get our teeth stuck into and give a good go.
Absolutely. Well, Alex, I really appreciate you taking time to chat to us today, so thanks very much for that.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for watching or listening to this episode of the official Celtic FC podcast with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Thank you very much, and hail Hate.